Like, comment, subscribe, and let's do this.
For over 60 years, humans have been diving to the deepest point on Earth. Each time, explorers descend nearly 7 miles through total darkness, enduring pressures that would crush steel to reach a place more remote than the surface of the Moon. Dozens of dives have been made since the first attempt in 1960, each one revealing more about a world we barely understand.
Which is
So
crazy, by
here's the
the way.
question. What's actually down there? What did they find in the crushing darkness at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? And why is the answer both more wonderful and more disturbing than anyone could have imagined? Let's find out.
Like, before we go anywhere further, I wanted to say, like, isn't it crazy that the ocean is more interesting than the moon, but human beings are investing more on going to the moon, but the earth itself is more interesting than the moon. The ocean
The Mariana
alone.
Trench is located in the western Pacific Ocean, roughly 200 miles southwest of the US territory of Guam. It's a crescent-shaped scar in the ocean floor, stretching for about 1,580 miles from north to south, making it one of the longest geological features on Earth. But it's not the length that makes the Mariana Trench remarkable. It's the depth. The trench plunges to a maximum depth of 36,037 feet
Woo-wee!
at a point called the Challenger Deep, named after the HMS Challenger expedition that first measured it in 1875. That's 10,984 meters, or nearly 11 kilometers down. To put that in perspective, if you placed Mount Everest at the bottom of the trench, its summit would still be over 2 kilometers beneath the surface of the ocean. The Mariana Trench
That's
isn't just deep, it's
insane.
the deepest point in all of Earth's oceans, the lowest elevation of the
That we
Earth's
know
crust,
of.
the most extreme environment on the planet. And for over a century, it remained almost completely unexplored, a mystery darker and more alien than the surface of Mars. The Mariana Trench exists because of a collision that's been happening for millions of years. On one side is the Pacific Plate, one of the largest tectonic plates on the planet, moving steadily westward. On the other is the smaller Mariana Plate, carrying the Mariana Islands and the surrounding seafloor. When these two plates meet, the Pacific Plate doesn't stop. It dives beneath the Mariana Plate in a process called subduction. The Pacific Plate is
Oh,
oceanic
like
crust,
this.
older and denser than the Mariana Plate, so physics demands that it goes down.
And I was just about to ask that, like, do tectonic plates, has there ever been a point where they're like straight level with each other to a point where they like hit each other like that? Because on this one, like, I could see like the other one is diverging from the other. So is there a case where like tectonic plates actually collide head on? If somebody knows that, put that in the comments. I'd like to know that, because that would be scary. Imagine being in between that when that happens, or being in the ocean when like an earthquake happens, and or when like there's rapid movement of tectonic plates. That would be insane, bro.
Doesn't stop. It dives beneath the Mariana Plate in a process called subduction. The Pacific Plate is oceanic crust, older and denser than the Mariana Plate, so physics demands that it goes down. Right at the point where the plate begins its descent into the mantle, the seafloor tears open, creating the trench. What makes the Mariana Trench so extraordinarily deep is the age of the crust being subducted. The Pacific Plate here is some of the oldest oceanic crust on Earth, 170 million years old, dating back to
Damn.
the age of dinosaurs. Old oceanic crust is cold and dense, which means it sinks deeper than younger crust. That's why this trench is the deepest point on the
It
planet.
looks so
It's a window into
unreal too.
geological time, where rocks older than the Atlantic Ocean are being pulled back into the Earth. If you could somehow survive the journey to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, here's what you'd experience. At a depth of 36,000 feet, the water pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at the surface. That's roughly 8 tons pressing down on every square inch of your body, the equivalent of having 3 cars stacked on your thumbnail. At that pressure, the air in your lungs would compress to nothing. Your bones would splinter. Any unprotected human would be crushed instantly.
Oh my
The
god.
temperature hovers just a few degrees above freezing, between 34 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 1 to 4 degrees Celsius.
Oh.
And it's dark. Not just dark, but utterly, completely black. Sunlight can't penetrate beyond about 1,000 feet.
This is
By
crazy.
the time you reach 3,000 feet, you're in what's called the Midnight Zone. The Challenger Deep is more than 10 times deeper than that. It's a place where no ray of sunlight
So how do you know? Like, I know there are radars and all that, like for sense of direction, but I still don't understand how you know where you're going when you're that deep and it's that dark. Like, do you have maps that already exist? And if there are maps, then how are the first people moving about it or going about it? Or you just go straight down and not try to like go forwards or backwards. It's just straight down when you do it. Because in that way, I'd understand like you could pull the person or whoever's going down straight up. You don't need to like know directions or anything.
has ever reached, where the concept of day and night has no meaning. For most of human history, scientists believed nothing could survive in such an environment. The pressure alone should make life impossible. The cold, the darkness, the complete absence of photosynthesis,
Yeah.
all of it pointed to a lifeless abyss. The question wasn't whether life existed at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. The
How?
question was whether humans could even get there to confirm it was empty. Subscribe for more explorations of the ocean's extreme zones. January 23rd, 1960. Two men climbed into a steel sphere barely 7 feet in diameter, sealed the hatch, and began the
Brave,
longest
bro.
descent in human history.
I wouldn't do
US
that.
Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh and Swiss engineer Jacques Picard were about to become the first humans to reach the bottom
Jacques
of the Mariana
Picard.
Trench, piloting a strange-looking craft called the bathyscaphe Trieste. The Trieste was part underwater blimp, part pressure capsule. A massive tank filled with gasoline for buoyancy sat above a tiny steel sphere designed to protect the crew from crushing pressure. It was cramped, cold, and primitive, with
These
no
guys
cameras
are brave,
and no sampling
bro.
equipment. The mission had one goal: prove that humans could reach the deepest point on Earth and survive. The descent took 4 hours and 47 minutes. At around 30,000 feet, they heard a loud crack that shook the entire vessel.
Damn.
One of the outer plexiglass windows had fractured under the immense pressure. Walsh and Picard faced a decision: abort and surface, or continue
abort.
into the unknown. They continued. At 1:06 p.m., the Trieste touched down on the ocean floor at a depth of 35,800 feet.
That's
The
insane.
temperature inside the cabin had dropped to 7 degrees Celsius.
Bro, I would have went up immediately when I saw that crack, bro. That's why I'm saying these guys are so brave, bro. Put it in the comments. Would you have like kept going down, or would you have like decided to surface? Personally, I would have surfaced as soon as I saw the crack. Yeah, we're going up, bro. We're going. Ain't no way we're still going down. Whose life are you trying to play with?
Just above 44 degrees Fahrenheit. Walsh and Picard were freezing, exhausted, and sitting in near-total darkness at the bottom of the world. They had 20 minutes before they needed to begin the ascent. And then they saw something. Through the viewport, moving slowly across the seafloor, was what Picard described as a flatfish, about 1 foot long and 6 inches across. Then shrimp-like creatures. The bottom wasn't empty. There was life down here. The Trieste had no way to take photographs, no way to collect samples.
Oh my god.
When Walsh and Picard surfaced hours later and
people would
reported what
just
they'd
have to
seen,
take your word
some
for it.
scientists were skeptical. A flatfish at that depth? It seemed impossible. But one thing was certain. They had proven humans could reach the bottom. The question now was whether anyone would ever go back. They didn't go back. Not in 2 years. Not in 10. Not for over half a century.
Holy
The Trieste had
crap.
accomplished something extraordinary, but as a scientific instrument it was limited. It couldn't take photographs. It couldn't collect samples. It could barely maneuver on the bottom. The 20 minutes Walsh and Pickard spent at the Challenger Deep produced no tangible data, no specimens, no images,
Nothing.
just 2 eyewitness accounts of what they'd seen in the darkness. By the end of the 1960s, the US Navy had abandoned manned exploration of the deep.
Imagine your only source being, trust me, bro. Like, people would have like, it's 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 hard, is what I'm trying to say. Like, people would just have to take your word for it.
Deepest ocean trenches. The Trieste was too expensive to operate, too difficult to maintain, and offered too little scientific return. The focus shifted to unmanned vehicles, remotely operated submersibles
Smart.
and landers that could be dropped to the seafloor and retrieved days later. Technology improved. ROVs became more sophisticated. Scientists sent cameras and sampling equipment to Hadal depths and brought back glimpses of life in the trenches. But no human returned to the Challenger Deep. The first and only eyewitness account of the deepest point on Earth remained frozen in time, a brief moment in 1960 that no one had been able to repeat or verify. Until 2012. March 26th, 2012.
That's
52
a
years
crazy
after the
feat.
Trieste, filmmaker and explorer James Cameron squeezed into a vertical torpedo-shaped submersible called the Deep Sea Challenger and began his descent to the Challenger Deep. This time, the mission was different. Cameron wasn't just trying to reach the bottom, he was bringing cameras, sampling equipment, and the technology to actually study what was down there.
People are
The descent
brave,
took
bro.
2 hours and 36 minutes. Cameron sat alone in a pilot sphere so cramped he couldn't extend his arms, watching through a 9.5-inch thick window as the darkness closed in around him. When he reached the bottom at 35,756 feet, he became the first person to make a solo dive to the deepest point on Earth and the third human ever to see it. What Cameron found surprised him. The seafloor wasn't teeming with bizarre creatures.
Is this the actual
It was, in
footage?
his words, lunar and desolate. A flat, barren plain of fine sediment stretched out in every direction. He saw small, shrimp-like amphipods, translucent and ghostly, drifting near the bottom. But there were no fish, no obvious signs of the abundant life some scientists had hoped to find. Cameron described the feeling as one of complete isolation from all of humanity. But the real discoveries came from
I
what he
feel
brought back.
fear.
Sediment samples revealed 68 new species, most of them bacteria. The Deep Sea Challenger's cameras captured footage of microbial mats clinging to chemically altered rocks on the seafloor, evidence of chemosynthesis, life fueled not by sunlight, but by chemical reactions in the Earth's crust. During test dives in the New Britain
Chemosynthesis.
Trench, Cameron's team found giant amphipods 7 inches long, the largest ever recorded at that depth. Cameron had planned to spend 6 hours exploring the bottom, but a hydraulic fluid leak disabled his mechanical sampling arm and limited his mobility. After just 3 hours, he was forced to return to the surface. He'd proven that modern technology could reach the Challenger Deep and bring back real scientific data. But 3 hours wasn't enough.
Given the chance, would you guys go there? Like, I know I wouldn't go, bro. I wouldn't even like dare go there. Behind getting lit on fire, this sounds horrible. And there was a case, I don't remember which year, but recent, where those people like went down there and the submersible got like crushed by the pressure. So I wonder if any normal person would go there, but you guys let me know, would you go?
Trench had revealed glimpses of life, but it was clear that unlocking its secrets would require more time, more dives, and better equipment. 7 years later, American explorer Victor Vescovo brought exactly that. In May of 2019, Vescovo piloted a submersible called the Limiting Factor to the bottom of the Challenger Deep,
What a
reaching a
name.
record depth of 35,853 feet, 10,927 meters, the deepest dive ever recorded. But
Damn.
Vescovo didn't stop at one dive. He went back, again and again. He became the first person to dive to the Challenger Deep multiple times, spending hours methodically exploring the seafloor, collecting
He is
samples,
insane,
and
bro.
documenting what previous explorers had only glimpsed. Vescovo's team discovered 4 new species of amphipods, prawn-like crustaceans adapted to survive the crushing pressure. They found vibrantly coloured rocky outcrops that appeared to be chemical deposits, evidence of active geology at the bottom of the trench. They filmed sea cucumbers slowly crawling across the sediment and captured footage of ecosystems no human had ever seen before.
Look at this.
Since 2019, the limit
So if I'm the one who like sees these things, do I get to name them or what goes on? Because although I said I wouldn't go there, but I'd expect them to keep naming and naming these things.
limiting factor has made over 20 successful crewed dives to the Challenger Deep, transforming it from the most inaccessible place on Earth into the most systematically explored deep ocean environment. But Vescovo also found something that no one wanted to see. Lying on the seafloor at the deepest point in the ocean, nearly 7 miles beneath the surface in a place more remote than the summit of Everest, more isolated than the surface of the moon, Vescovo spotted a plastic bag and candy wrappers.
Whoa.
Vescovo later described the discovery as deeply disappointing,
Yeah.
a stark reminder that human contamination had reached even the most remote point on the planet. His team collected specimens of the creatures they found and sent them to laboratories for analysis. Scientists opened them up and examined their tissues. Nearly every animal tested contained microplastics in their bodies.
Really?
Plastic that had been thrown away on the surface had found its way to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and the creatures living there were consuming it. The discovery shocked the world. If pollution could reach the Challenger Deep, it could reach anywhere. There was no corner of the ocean, no matter how deep or remote, that remained untouched by human activity. What shocked you more, the incredible life they found, or the plastic that shouldn't be there? Let me know in the comments.
That's crazy.
So what actually lives at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? Across all the expeditions from 1960 to the present day, explorers have found life far more diverse and resilient than anyone expected. The deepest
That could cause a crazy chain reaction. Like, if you claim not to care about that, like, if there are no fish, that means no food for you, no food for animals that eat fish. And if the animals that eat fish don't get food and they die, that means the animals that eat fish don't have food to eat. So that could cause a catastrophe. So that's crazy.
So what actually lives at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? Across all the expeditions from 1960 to the present day, explorers have found life far more diverse and resilient than anyone expected. The deepest fish ever recorded is the Mariana snailfish, discovered in 2017 at a depth of
That's kinda
26,830 feet, just over 8,000 meters down.
This is the
These
cutest
translucent,
deep-sea
ghostly
fish
creatures
I've ever
have
seen.
gelatinous bodies with no swim bladder and skeletons made of soft cartilage rather than bone, adaptations that allow them to withstand pressure that would pulverize most other fish. They represent the absolute depth limit for vertebrate life on Earth. But fish are just the beginning. The trench is home to supergiant amphipods, shrimp-like crustaceans that grow up to 7 inches long. Scientists discovered that these creatures use aluminum to strengthen their exoskeletons,
Aluminum?
making them the first known species on Earth to incorporate this metal into their bodies.
Aluminum.
They extract the aluminum from sediments on the seafloor, a biochemical trick found nowhere else in nature. The Dumbo octopus, named for its
That's
ear-like
cool,
fins,
though.
is the deepest living octopus known to science. Unlike shallow water octopuses, it has no ink sac because it encounters so few predators at depth. Giant single-celled organisms called xenophyophores, some measuring several inches across, cluster on the seafloor like alien flowers.
Looks like
Sea
cabbage.
cucumbers crawl through the sediment, processing organic matter that drifts down from the surface world miles
Sea
above.
cabbage.
And then there are the microbes, bacteria and archaea that thrive in conditions humans can barely comprehend. Organisms that have evolved biochemistry fundamentally different from anything found in sunlit waters. Life at the bottom of the Mariana Trench isn't just surviving. Against all odds, it's thriving.
Yeah.
But the most groundbreaking discoveries were yet to come. Between August and November of 2021, the Chinese submersible Fenduje, meaning striver, conducted 33 dives into the Mariana Trench as part of the
33?
Mariana Trench Environment and Ecology Research Project. What they found rewrote our understanding of life in the deepest ocean. The Fenduje team collected over 1,600 sediment samples from depths ranging from roughly 20,000 to 36,000 feet. Analysis revealed more than 7,000 new microbial species, 89% of them completely unknown to science. These weren't just rare bacteria, they were thriving populations with remarkably diverse survival strategies adapted to one of the harshest environments on Earth. But the most astonishing discovery came at a depth of 31,270 feet, 9,533 meters down. The team found massive colonies of tube worms and bivalves, thousands of organisms clustered together in dense aggregations. These were chemosynthetic communities, ecosystems that don't rely on sunlight at all, but instead draw energy from methane and other chemicals seeping through cracks in the seafloor. The researchers captured video of tube worms up to 12 inches long, swaying in the current like an underwater forest. They filmed fields of clams packed so densely they covered the sediment like cobblestones. The scientists described it as a river of life flowing along the trench floor, the deepest and most extensive chemosynthesis-based ecosystem ever discovered on Earth.
Clams?
The organisms clustered around microbial mats that looked like snow on the seafloor, mats that were producing methane through biological processes in one of the most extreme environments imaginable. The implications were staggering.
I don't know,
chemosynthetic
bro.
life could thrive.
I don't know, I see, and understand wanting to research these things, and we should. We should know where we're living. We should know what's here with us. But at the same time, if we are not careful, we're going to get something down there that's going to put us in danger too. So
At the
this
bottom
is
of the
crazy.
Mariana Trench, similar ecosystems might exist in other trenches around the world, places we've barely begun to explore. So here's the answer to the question we started with. What did they find at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? They found life. Not the barren wasteland that scientists expected, but thriving ecosystems more diverse than anyone imagined. Creatures that survive in total darkness under crushing pressure,
What's
organisms
that?
with biochemistry fundamentally different from
What was
anything in the
that?
sunlit world. Evidence that life on Earth might have originated not in shallow pools, but in deep ocean trenches, fueled by chemistry rather than light. And they found us. Plastic bags, candy wrappers, human pollution embedded in the tissues of creatures living 7 miles down, in a place so remote that more people have walked on the moon than have visited it. The Mariana Trench revealed something profound. The deepest point on Earth is not lifeless. It's not pristine. It's a thriving alien world contaminated by human activity, holding both clues to the origin of life and evidence of our impact on every corner of the planet. The Mariana Trench has taught us that the most extreme places on Earth are not beyond life's reach, and neither are they beyond ours. Which discovery matters more? The alien ecosystems thriving in crushing darkness, or the plastic waste we left behind? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep ocean explorations.
That's a real question, though. That's a really good question. But I'd say people know what we're doing. It's not surprising that we have plastic down there. I don't know how people are going to combat that, but we'll see very soon. I'm sure, if we invest enough into it, we'll come up with a solution. But the Mariana Trench is insane, bro. And to think that that's the deepest point we know of, because we haven't mapped the majority of the oceans. So that's the deepest part that we know of. There could be deeper places. So imagine that. If that's the stuff we found in the Mariana Trench, what else is out there? Think about that. Really think about it. So I'd say the ocean itself, Earth itself, is more exciting than the moon or majority of the places that human beings right now are interested in. Like, I love space and all that, but come on, let's see what's on Earth first. But let me not yap for a long time, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.